There's a ton of noise out there. So how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by Karyn Martin. Karyn is a partner at 451 Marketing. Karyn, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Great to be here.
Yeah, Karyn says great to be here, and I want our audience to understand this is actually one of the very first in-person live interviews that we're doing. I happen to be in Boston where 451 Marketing is. So it was a tremendous opportunity. I want to thank Karyn again for carving some time out of her schedule. But Karyn, give our audience a little bit of a background into what it is that you do at 451 Marketing, how you came to be here, and why we're going to be talking about B2B PR campaigns today.
Sure. So 451 Marketing is an integrated marketing agency. We're full service. Our headquarters are in Boston, and we have offices across the U.S. in both New York and out in Santa Monica. We'll talk a little bit later why having a presence bi-coastal is so important when you're in PR. But I've been in agency PR for almost 16 years. I have a blended background of B2B and B2C experience, working with brands large and small to get their stories told. You know, whether you're a young startup looking for exposure and just straight up awareness, or a very well-established company, a lot of times they have challenges needing to either manage their reputation or change a perception about them in the market. It's all public relations, and we'll be talking a little bit today about how important digital is when it comes to PR as well.
Yeah. I love it when we get a chance to feature guests whose experience sort of runs the gamut. I mean, you're talking about working with companies of various sizes, and we have an audience that is also similarly varied. So I think this is great. Today we are going to be talking about 5 keys to a successful B2B PR campaign. So, Karyn, why don't you take it away? Take it away from there.
Sure, absolutely. So I think the first and most important thing to do when you're looking to either work with an agency for a B2B campaign or develop one yourself is to, number one, take a look at your assets and use all of them. And the first asset that so many publicists overlook, and sometimes even marketing overlooks, is your sales team. And even though we're going to be talking about PR today, PR, the whole goal is to sell more widgets, is to help convert. And I think sometimes people forget that a little bit. It gets buried under marketing, and they say, you know, that's really something they should be focused on. How is that going to help us when you're on the sales team? But the sales team can be your best friend. And I know a lot of times it's challenging, but if PR can prove out how you can help them top of the funnel, drive leads, drive awareness to them, you will find that they will definitely give back to you generously. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, starting with just finding one salesperson in your company that you can partner with and partner either your agency with or someone in your communications team with, to talk about what are their challenges in the market, how do they do objection handling. All of that information is so important for any publicist who's going to, frankly, just tell your story, share your story, pitch it out. That's what we call it in the industry, pitching. And they need to know what the challenges are so that they can help the sales team overcome. When we think about other partnerships, some of the more traditional ones, industry organizations, right? So that would be outside of your organization. You probably attend their trade shows. You're probably members of these organizations. One, just making sure that you are engaged. And two, we'll talk a little bit about content later. But as you think about places that you can source content from, some of the best writers I've ever hired actually either are on staff or regular contributors to a number of the industry organizations for the B2B business that I'm working with. They know the industry inside and out, and that's an amazing asset to have.
Yeah.
I think the last one, which is a no-brainer, customers, right? Like that is the golden ticket, and easier said than done. And that's definitely where the sales team starts to get protective, which is why having that strong relationship with them is so important. But we talk about levels of referenceability. So a lot of times when people think about telling a customer story, I mean, let's face it, if you're in the security space, you just can't. It's too competitive. They also don't want to put it out there because they don't want a target on their back. So you have to really do blind case studies, which might be as good as you can get. But there's levels of referenceability. So it doesn't have to be about taking that customer's logo and plastering it all over your sales materials, blasting it out on the web via a press release. It could be just as simple as letting them promote the story or the case study from an awards entry submission that remains private. Judges have non-disclosures that they sign. So that's a simple area that you could start that could help with PR. And since, the customer gets final approval, everything can go through their legal, it's not as scary as what we're doing here today, a live interview, right?
Yeah. Well, and it almost feels, as you are IDing and strategically using these assets, I mean, there is an element of making sure that they're working in harmony, that you're aligning sort of these different teams and the different goals.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to start there first. Know what you have, know what you don't have, identify those gaps and see where you can make a few friends.
Yeah.
But anybody who's in PR should be great at making friends.
Yes.
That's what we do.
That's what they do. So that was number one. Number two, you had mentioned segmentation.
Yeah. So once you know what you have to work with, you need to really take a look at who are you targeting. So the first thing is to understand who's your customer. And I know a lot of times, especially organizations that are older, have spent a lot of money in this area, but maybe not recently. So they think they know who their customer is, but that can be a really big misstep. So you want to spend the time to do the research, primary, secondary. Make sure that you are 100% sure exactly who you're targeting, what they're buying, what they're looking for. There's a lot that you can do with analytics just on your site itself to see who's coming, why are they leaving, and all of that information is important to share with the PR team. Again, it might feel like it's one step removed, but those are the types of insights that a publicist whose campaigns are based in research and analytics, like ours are at 451, those are the questions they should be asking, because you want to make sure that your PR strategy, which is so important to put in place, is all based in foundational analytics and real insights and information.
That it's properly targeted.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And it's not only talking about ultimately the end user or the end customer, but also it's going to help inform who the media targets are that they're going after. So there's a lot to be said for trade media, especially when you're dealing with B2B. I think that's the bread and butter that everyone is used to dealing with. But there's a reason why, even though we work with a ton of B2C companies, there's a lot of B2B brands that choose to come to 451. I work with clients such as Ericsson and Next Stage Medical, Shamit Construction, and they come to us because they know not only are we able to perform from a B2B standpoint a campaign, but we bring that out-of-box thinking, which is so important because of our touch points on the B2C side.
Yeah.
So I think that that's important when you think about what to do when you're segmenting and how you can figure out who's coming to the site.
Yeah. And I don't want to get ahead of you if we end up talking about this, but is there an element of, okay, this is who is currently visiting the site. This is currently who we're working with. We want to also be targeting this. We want to include this, or we need to.
Absolutely. So it's about identifying the gaps, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about identifying the gaps in terms of the target and the segments. That applies to content too. So when you perform those analytics and take a look at the research, you can see who's coming to the site and also who are we missing? Who is it where is our biggest growth opportunity, right? And why are those people not coming to our site? So there's a gap there, and PR can help target that. They can help, you can identify a story, and we can get it placed in the areas where that key target customer that isn't there yet is reading, right? We can also help on the content side. So it's a good segue into point number 3.
Perfect.
So in terms of analytics, you look at your site when you're doing the research and the segmentation and see what content has resonated the most. It makes sense if people like it. You want to give them a little bit more, a little bit different, but stay along that vein. But also, what is it that they're looking for that you're not providing? Where are the content gaps? Again, this is where our smart PR strategy comes into play, and PR can help, not only through some of the things we talked about earlier by working with industry writers to get great content on your site, but also by working with your social teams, digital teams, and getting some of that content on there so that you become a resource for them. I think it's another smart way to play. And also what's important from a content strategy standpoint is to start with an audit. That's something that we do for all of our clients here whenever we start a B2B campaign. And we know based on what we've seen from industry research and our own campaigns that content marketing is the highest marketing tactic in terms of conversion. So should not be missed.
So when you were doing an audit of existing content, I mean, is that, okay, this is the type of content that you are creating on these particular mediums. This is who is digesting that, and here are the gaps that we know in your industry.
Yep, absolutely. So content audits should be pretty comprehensive, not only looking at your site and all of your social channels, but also for certainly some of the larger companies, there's closed forum places where employees can be sharing ideas and talking. You want to take a look at those internal assets as well. You also want to look at competitors. Competitive insight is very important, and there's a lot. I mean, it's free information, right? You can Google
it's out there.
anything.
Yeah, they're trying to put that content out there. They're trying to make it as easy to find as possible. So.
Absolutely. So spend the time to take a look at it and see what's moving the needle for them and what's falling flat. Use that to inform your strategy as well. It's important to have a defined voice too, so you know, are we serious all the time? Are we not afraid to basically open up and show some of the challenges at the company and then how we overcame them? Do we want to be, on the cutting edge and innovative, or do we want to show that we're the company that you're never going to get fired for hiring? All valid approaches depending on the brand.
Okay. So, you're talking about auditing, you're talking about identification of assets, you're talking about a lot of things, but number 4 is measurement.
Yes.
And this is one thing that you had mentioned, some people just, how do you measure these results? And, is this an important part of the process?
So measurement is historically the bane of a publicist's existence. It is lack of measurement, the challenge of measuring the impact of PR is the number one reason why when marketing budgets get cut, PR is usually the first to go, because digital, you can track it all through, and now you can track it all online, one-to-one. You can show what the spend was, what the ROI was, and PR is frankly just harder, right? But how do you put a measure on when I make a personal recommendation to you? You're going to take that seriously. You're going to look into that a little bit more. And that doesn't matter if what you're buying is a CRM solution or shampoo, right? We're all people.
Right.
We have our trusted resources. You're going to call up your friend, your buddy, see what the reviews are online, and then you're going to start to make that short list of what you want to purchase.
Yeah.
So,
we've had some guests, that whether you're talking about B2B or B2C, it can always be P2P. People to people. So
absolutely, and I agree with that. So some of the things that publicists can do and your PR team or communications department can do is you got to make sure that you are tagging everything. And this is where, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but being friends with your SEO team, your digital team. And if you're not a large company, if it's just your SEO guy, I don't care that it's your SEO guy, get to be friends with him too. They are going to help you tag everything. So you want to make sure that you have UTM parameters on any PR content that goes out there. Those are customizable codes. They're going to let you create and append your URLs that you're driving, whether it's media or customers to, so that you can track what kind of traffic is happening. And then with that information, you're going to be able to know how successful was that content from a PR standpoint. You know, we've done this quite a bit with not only our B2B, but also our B2C campaigns. And it's really informed our pitching strategy and where we prioritize, where we spend our efforts. It's also helped us in terms of what we talk about is closing that loop between digital and PR and the ability to show high funnel traffic and awareness, driving it all the way down to the bottom, which is usually where you see conversions through digital, and being able to show the impact that one has on the other.
Yeah. Well, and I think then, I mean, that's another great segue, right, to point number 5, where you wanted to talk about the importance of digital and social integration.
Yep, absolutely. So we've talked a lot today about making friends. I think that that's important.
Yes.
Your digital and your social teams or people, resources, they should be your best friends when you're in PR. Why? Because not only can they feed you information about the type of content people are looking for, what pieces of traffic are really increasing, where you should spend some of your time, but they can also amplify everything that you do. So all of that hard work, all of that money, that investment and that measurement in terms of time that your PR team or your head of communications puts into PR for that earned media hit, you want to make sure that you maximize that. Well, how do you do that? And today, more and more, what's necessary is a paid digital spend and promotion behind it, whether that's a social promotion spend or a straight up digital play that you would purchase through. We have a number of partners we work with to do this, but to syndicate the content, frankly, out so that it just gets on more eyeballs.
Yeah.
The lines between PR, marketing, advertising, digital, as you can tell, they are just increasingly gray. And I think there's a lot of people that shy away from that. There can be a lot of fights over budgets internally, who gets what. Yeah. But it works best when everybody's working together. And social, I mean, now you just can't split it from PR. And when we talk B2B, we do get a lot of pushback in terms of, well, why would social be important, right?
Right. We're talking about the business here.
Exactly. But it is, and it shouldn't be just LinkedIn. Yes, like LinkedIn is great. We all leverage it from a business standpoint. We understand what the value is, but we've actually seen some of the more successful B2B campaigns through Facebook and being able to segment and target there. So I would say don't overlook it.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it can still be a little nerve-wracking because then, a lot of people, they want to keep that separate, like here's my LinkedIn profile and here's my activity on Facebook maybe.
Yeah.
So another way in which sort of those lines are
And from an
blurring.
individual standpoint, that makes sense. I mean, I do that myself. My Facebook circle is much tighter than my LinkedIn circle. And things I post in Facebook, I wouldn't necessarily post in LinkedIn, vice versa. I think that that's natural. Businesses need to figure that out as well for themselves, what makes sense. But at the end of the day, you are still that person. I'm still on Facebook. I'm still a publicist.
Yeah.
I'm still a partner of 451, and I'm on Facebook looking around. And whenever I see something cool, I share it with my friends. I dig into it. I click on it. I check it out a little bit more. Just because, it's after 5 o'clock doesn't mean that the job stops, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So, Karyn, thank you again. Karyn Martin joining us today. If anyone in our audience is interested in connecting with you, learning more about 451, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
You just want to go to our website. So it's 451marketing.com. Can't make it any simpler than that. Or you can tweet at me, and that's at Karyn Martin, KarynMartin.
Perfect. Again, thank you so much for taking some time being with us here on the show today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.